Játészti peletérjénisé ma initially Billigan a Bashashin, Kimachini Dashache, Billigan Dashnella. Welcome back to Resball, where we're talking about Lithuanian point guard from Illinois, Kasparas Jakucionis. Fantastic guy that can play both the point and the shooting guard, in my opinion. I mean, it's a long line of Lithuanian basketball players. I'll go through it here in a little bit, but if you don't know, like Lithuania, they love basketball. It's probably the number one sport there. Long tradition of a lot of good Lithuanian players, and Kasparas Jakucionis is the next one in line. So let's talk about Kasparas Jakucionis right about now. So Kasparas is from Vilnius, Lithuania. He started there at Perlis Vilnius, which is an offshoot of Rytas Vilnius, which is one of the bigger clubs there in Lithuania, but got snatched up by FC Barcelona in 2021 because he's just that good. Really, it's like Barcelona and Real Madrid, a Red Star, Fenerbahce, and my goodness, I'm going to get roasted for the other team in Turkey that are really like the top, Endless Efes. Those are the top teams, really. Like if you get snatched up by one of those two or one of those couple, I say two because I always think Barcelona and Real Madrid is like the top teams in Europe. Again, go look at their development system. Go look at all the guys that have come from either FC Barcelona or Real Madrid system. You know, like Nikola Mirotic came from Barcelona. Luka Doncic came from Real Madrid. I mean, again, just go look at all the guys that came through there. And, you know, if you go through one of those two, you're the best of the best that have been scouted and snatched up in Europe. In the FIBA U16s with the Lithuanian team, Kasparas Jakucionis did win the FIBA U16s with that Lithuanian team. He calls it his proudest accomplishment, which, yeah, for sure. And really where I first caught on to Kasparas Jakucionis is this last offseason. It was about in May with the Adidas Next Generation tournament. He had 17 assists against Alba Berlin. It's not like some cookie cutter team. It's another high level, you know, European team with a lot of other prospects. I mean, it's no joke. 17 assists. I think he only scored like 7 points in that game. But that was where I was like, man, if this guy just shoots threes, like Kasparas Jakucionis is going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft because you don't see this kind of manipulator of the defense with his court vision that often. Again, point guards are born, they're not made. And Kasparas Jakucionis is a great example of doing that exact thing. Not many guys that can, at, what is that, 17, 18 years old, have 17 assists against another high-level club. He had like 14 assists in another game in that Adidas Next Generation tournament. I mean, point guard second to none. Like I said, comes from a long line of Lithuanian players. If you don't know Lithuania and the players that have come out of that country, Matas Buzelis, even though he is an American citizen, Matas Buzelis is Lithuanian. Ignas Brazdeikis, who was drafted, I think, by the Knicks, played over with my Wolverines, another great Lithuanian player. Zydrunas Ilgauskas. Any Heat fans out there, any Cavs fan, definitely the Big Z, he's known with the Cavs. I believe he went into their like Hall of Fame ring of honor circle kind of thing there. Other guys that people will recognize the name, Sarunas Marčiulionis, who played for the Warriors, played for the Sonics, Kings, Nuggets, another great Lithuanian player. Donis Motiejunas, unfortunately, it probably has the infamy of in the Piston circles that I run of like a trade that ended up going through, but did play for Rockets, Pelicans, Spurs. The ones that a lot of people I don't think celebrate enough in the States as Lithuanian are both Sabonis. Arvydas Sabonis, fantastic legend. He played in Russia for the Soviet Union, but he's born in Lithuania and he's Lithuanian. You know, nationality wise, he's Lithuanian, as is his son, Domantas Sabonis. And when he did get the chance, Arvydas did play for the Lithuanian team. And Domantas Sabonis now represents the Lithuanian team wherever he gets the chance to play over there. And Jonas Valanciunas, another great Lithuanian player, played at USC, then came over here, played for a couple different teams, the Raptors, the Grizz, the Pelicans, the Wizards, the Kings. I believe he's on the Wizards right now. So Jonas, another great Lithuanian player. Again, I implore you, anybody that wants to watch like Rytis and some international basketball, go check out the Lithuanian league. Like they fight, those crowds are bananas. It's just like the Serbian league as well. It's so much fun to watch, and they got a lot of good players there, in my opinion. So this past season at Illinois, Kasparas Jakucionis scored 15 points per game. pulled in 5.7 rebounds, dished out 4.7 assists per game, 0.9 steals per game, 0.3 blocks per game, and then 3.7 turnovers per game. Spoiler alert, that's going to be the big concerns of the turnovers. Shooting splits for Kasparas Jakucionis was 56.2% for 2-point range, 31.8% from 3-point range, and then 84.5% from the free throw line. I understand 31.8% from three is, eyebrow raising for a lot of people, but 84.5% from the free throw line, like I said with John Tonje, like I said with Peyton Sandford the last times, like it's hard to average that percentage of the free throw line, 84.5% if you don't have really good mechanics. And that was the thing coming into the season too, is everybody's like, man, Kasparas' jumper looks like the main weapon. I don't know what else he'll bring to the table. And another guy that had to be the man on an Illinois team. I don't necessarily want to say they didn't have other options. Like they had Kylan Boswell, Tomislav Ivicic there, another great pick and pop stretch big. Will Riley was there. But really, if it wasn't Tomislav and Kasparas, I don't know that they really had any reliable 3-point shooters. Will Riley, inconsistent. Kylan Boswell, surprisingly inconsistent. Everybody else on that team, super inconsistent. It was really Tomislav and Kasparas Jakucionis who took the load, not only in terms of shooting the percentage that could keep them afloat from three and keep defenses off of everybody else, but the volume. Like they took a volume above everybody else on this team. So that does need to be considered. Also, if you look at conference play, 5.7 3-point attempts per game for Kasparas Jakucionis, 33.3%. So it's nice to see that number go up. You've heard me say it a million times before if you've listened to this podcast. I really like when you see the conference numbers go up and they get better and they become more efficient, because when you start conference play, it's normally at the beginning of the new year, after the break of Christmas and the holidays, when coaches have more time to prepare. You play a lot of these teams twice and they're just ready for you and they know what you do, but then you can still succeed because you're either that dominant or you study the film and you have craft to get better, which I think Kasparas Jakucionis, a little bit of both there. So don't let it go uncelebrated. 33.3% from 3-point range on 5.7 attempts in 18 games of conference play for Kasparas. And then again, point to that 84.5% from the free throw line on the entire year. It's like the mechanics are there, man. You look at the true shooting percentage too, 59% true shooting, despite the 3-point numbers not being where you would like to be. Number one, the free throws helped out a lot to get that true shooting percentage up to 59%, which is really good. And then, as you'll see in a minute, the rim numbers are also good and better than what a lot of people thought. 50.1% 3-point attempt rate too. My goodness, as I said with John Tonje, with Peyton Sandford, do you know how hard it is to be the guy and have 50-50 split from 2-point range and 3-point range? It shows you understand how to attack. You understand I need to vary my range, and I don't want to be one-dimensional, and I absolutely am not one-dimensional. So for defenses, these are the guys that are really hard to guard, in my opinion, are guys that are 50-50 split from three and from two, because it's like, okay, they can do a variety of things. I'm not going to pin them down to just one or two things. The free throw attempt rate, as I said before, 49.6%. That is very, very good for a freshman, for a guy a lot of people thought was just going to be a jump shooter, for a guy that people questioned his physicality. I mean, that's probably the number one reason Kasparas Jakucionis gets up into top 5 range. I have Kasparas at number 4 because let's look at this combination of things. Already 59% true shooting percentage, despite the 3-point numbers not being where you want them to be. The turnover rate is high, 22.7%. We'll address that here a little bit. But 26% assist rate. Again, about a 50-50 split between 2-point range, 3-point range. 49.6% free throws. 494 total points in 33 games, 168 free throws, 156 assists. It's hard to have that combination of stats as a freshman. And that's the thing too. Kasparas came in looking like a vet. Really the only area where you're like, okay, this is a young kid, is in turnovers and being a little bit overzealous. But again, I'm going to forgive him for that. This is a guy that led an Illinois team to the second round of the NCAA tournament as a freshman. That should trump the turnover stuff. And for me too, turnovers, when you have 17 assists in Adidas Next Generation, 14 assists in another game, again, it's a different level of point guard. He's going to try things out and get burned. And I would rather have a guy that I have to rein in rather than fire up. And for Kasparas Jakucionis, You just have to rein him in. And he's already fired up. So I like that from the aggression on getting the free throw line, from trying out different passes and stuff. He's not Cade Cunningham. That's not going to be my comp, but I do think it's a lot like Cade, where if you listen to our Pistons pod, Andy and I criticized Cade for that skip pass that he would try out like every game. Really stopped doing it about halfway through this year, and every time it would turn into a turnover. And we're just like, I know you can see it, bro, but like, stop doing that. There's just a lot of passes like that with Casper. So we're like, I know you can see it, man, but like, you got to chill out and stick it to be a little bit more simple so you can cut down on the turnovers. So Kasparas Jakucionis measured at 6'4" 3/4 inches without shoes. He's listed at 6'6", so I mean 6'5", 6'6" is what we're looking at. 205.2 pounds and then a 6'7" 3/4 inch wingspan. For a guy that's going to play point guard, shooting guard, those are all good. Again, if you want to be generous and round up 6'6" in shoes, 205, 6'7" 3/4 inch wingspan. I like all that in a combo guard. Let's look at the shot chart. So I'm going to argue this block is the old school point guards. I have Kasparas Jakucionis, Yegor Demin of BYU, and then Kashawn Gilbert from Iowa State. All of these guys, you're going to see a lot of blue in their shot chart. For Yegor, it's going to be way more blue than what we would like. And I think they do have like more old school type of games, to where if this were 1998, if this were like 2005, they would be looked at a little bit differently. Kasparas is probably still going to go in the top five, just because the true shooting percentage is still there. Even though the 3-point percentage isn't quite where you want it to be, a lot of people, including myself, still buy into the jumper and know it can be elite. But all three of these guys, I'm going to give that old school point guard comp to as well. They're not going to have modern comps, the one-to-one guys. I'll bring up some names, but to me, all three of them like reminded me of older school guys that I'm like, I think even now today they would succeed, and they're all absolutely point guards because of their vision and what they can do with the ball in their hands. So Kasparas Jakucionis, 48 of 157 above the break threes, 30.6%. Again, not ideal, but he had to take a lot of tough shots. It was him and Tomislav Ivic who really had to take the most threes and keep that going up. So again, I don't want to necessarily hand wave it, but it is something to me where you're like, would you like the percentage to be better? Sure, but go watch the film and see how many tough shots he had to take as a result of his teammates not spacing the floor out very well. 18 of 61 from left wing, 29.5%, rough. 10 of 40 from right wing, 25%, ugh. And then 35.7%, 20 of 56 from the long part at the top of the key there. Again, obviously all those have to improve, but the improvement happened too as the season went on. 33% of those conference game plays. Again, just watch the tape, just watch everything else. In an NBA court, when he has other spacers, he's not relied upon to be the man. He's not getting doubled, triple teamed. Then I believe those percentages can come out to at least like 36%. I do think he's still going to put up a volume, pretty high volume from three. But again, I'm still very confident that you're going to be happy with his 3-point percentage when he doesn't have to be the number one option here. 12 of 33 in the mid range, 36.4%. That might be concerning for other people of like, yeah, he's a point guard, but he doesn't really have a mid range game. Honestly, it's fine to me. While I do think Kasparas is a point guard number one, I think he's more of somebody that can play on ball and off ball with another primary career. Say somebody like Phoenix got the number one overall pick, or the number four overall pick, I should say. Not arguing for Kasparas at number one, but say Phoenix was able to get Kasparas, that would be a no-brainer, because Devin Booker, while he can play point guard, works better when like a Chris Paul, a guy who is wired to see the court the way he is of the point guard and have the ability to have 17 assist type games. Yeah, Kasparas would work well with them. And the main attack he has is a jumper from three that Devin Booker can kick out to. Like that kind of thing, I think is best for Kasparas, where yes, you want him to be the primary playmaker, but no, he's not the primary offensive option. Probably not even like number three. He's probably like fourth or fifth, mainly going to be a floor spacer. And so you don't need to give him the ball to create in the mid range, is pretty much what I'm going down to it. 17 of 44 in the paint. I think his runner floater game has to get better. That'll open up a lot more things for him. But he got it in the paint and got those free throws, and he got to the rim. 66 of 92 at the rim, 71.7%. That's the big part to me that I'm like, man, like he really had some craft to get there. Him and Tomislav and like pick and pop and pick and roll. He really utilized that well. Their other big man there, I cannot remember his name. Let's go see. I want to say it's Montez. Morez Johnson, the other guy that like really was good at rim pressure and just being a finisher there at the rim. Kasparas used those things to be able to get up a ton of shots. And again, you factor in the 71.7% at the rim, factor in being able to get to the free throw line 49.6% of the time he's out there, drain 84.5% of those shots. Now you see why that true shooting percentage is so high, and I do think that's still there. And again, think of the Devin Booker thing of like the point guard next to that major scorer who can handle the ball and give the offensive load is exactly what you want. A guy that generates free throws, doesn't fool around in the mid range, get in the way of a book, and can get to the line, shoot threes. All good stuff. The things that absolutely have to improve, go back to the turnovers again, 123 turnovers. So 156 assists to 123 turnovers. That is way too many turnovers. And any turnover rate over 20% is alarming, 22.7%. Again, this is a guy that is just overzealous. You're going to have to tell him to chill out. That's probably going to be year 1 or 2 of like, bro, you got to calm down, make the easy pass. Like, I know you can see that, but these guys are super fast. These guys are at a different athletic level. Like, you can't make a lot of these kind of passes. So that is the main part of Kasparas's game is like, we know you can see it, man, but we got to be able to know what passes are safe and what passes are unsafe. So you probably have to iron that stuff out in year 1 and year 2. And then the defense. Oh boy, the defense. I don't want to say he's bad, but I don't want to say he's good either. The size is nice. Again, we're around 6'5", 6'6", 205, 6'7", and 3/4 inch wingspan at the guard position. Great. But athletically, he ain't gonna hang with point guards, man. He might play the point on offense, but he ain't playing the point on defense. You hope he's able to guard whoever the worst wing is, whether it's small forward or shooting guard. You hope it's shooting guard because there are some wings that are super athletic out there at small forward that have a gigantic wingspan that'll eat up Kasparas. Well, the physicality shows up on offense. I don't think it necessarily shows up on defense. His rebounding rate was pretty good, 142 defensive rebounds, 188 overall. But again, this isn't somebody that like you can play up to guard stronger guys, excuse me, and not somebody you can play down because he's not athletically good enough to hang with quicker point guards. He's somebody that is not necessarily going to be hidden on offense, but you got to find the right mix of guys around him. Think of another team fit. Again, I'm the Piston guy with Detroit. If he went to Detroit, like it's easy there. Obviously, the Jaden Ivey thing is there, but to me, I'm like, just move Ivy to the bench then. And if you have Cade, Kasparas, Asar, whoever the power forward is, and then Stewart Duran, like you have the Asar to make up for Kasparas, who's limited athletically. Cade has shown he can handle whoever the other bigger wing is. It's not ideal, but he was fantastic in the playoffs. Tobias was really good in the playoffs. He'll be there at least one more year at power forward. Maybe they get another guy. They've been reported to look at like Naz Reid and Miles Turner. If they do get another guy like that, then even better. You already have this defensive infrastructure where you're protected there. So I think you'll be totally fine. Even somebody who has a pickup there, I don't know if he'll last this long, but I believe the Raptors have like 9, and he would be a perfect fit there in the Raptors. Emmanuel Quickly, point of attack defender, that's what he does. You have RJ Barrett, you have the Scotty Barnes, who's fantastic defensively versatile dude that can be in a couple different spots. And then you have Jakob Pertl protecting the back line, and all Kasparas needs to do is to pick up whoever the weakest guy is on defense. You hope RJ's defense comes back because it has been really bad at times. But again, that's a lineup where that lineup screams, we need a guy that can run the show here, and we already have the defensive infrastructure to protect him here. So I do think the defensive part is less of a thing. Again, I don't see him really getting run over. He's going to get struck by more athletic guys, but if you keep him on whoever the worst of the wings are, small forward, shooting guard, I think you're going to be totally fine. It's really just going to come down to the passing and telling him to chill out and cut down on a lot of these turnovers. Again, I saw all these guys as like old school. I couldn't really find a one-to-one in the newer guys because either they're too good and I don't want to like put that pressure on Kasparas. Objectively, I don't think Kasparas is as good as these other guys who measure similar to him, like a Cade Cunningham, like a Devin Booker, like a Tyrese Halliburton. Like Cade is a monster, unique in his own right with the post game, with the mid range, with his little scoop shot and all the craft that he has. Kasparas doesn't do all those things. He's not as physical as a Cape Cunningham is, who can guard like power forwards and give big man problems. He's not like the Halliburton, who's this elite off ball, on ball shooter and is just like this super guy that takes care of the ball and always has taken care of the ball. Obviously, that's not Kasparas. And then like a Devin Booker, he's definitely not the scorer of the Devin Booker. And even going back in time, it's like, okay, let me try and find another point guard. This is similar like the Kobe Sanders thing where I'm like, who is the size that has a skill set? And for Kasparas, I did not come down to a guy that has the same size. But the more I watch Kasparas, the more I was like, you know who this reminds me of is Nick Van Exel. If you don't remember Nick Van Exel, fantastic point guard out of Cincinnati in college, drafted by the Lakers, went to Dallas and a couple of other places. I mainly remember Van Exel on the Lakers, drafted and immediately came in and made an impact because he can play both guard spots. He was smaller, like 6'1" ish, but man, he played with pace. He really saw the court well, and he shot and scored and attacked the rim, and like was a little bit ahead of his time in terms of being a better 3-point shooter and relying on that more than what most other players at his position were doing at the time, but was always a really good scorer, flirted with being like 18, 20 point per game scorer as he got going. I think Kasparas is definitely more efficient, and this is more the new school version of that, to where Nick Van Exel probably took a little bit more difficult shots along the way. But wherever he went, he could play either guard spot. He could play with a primary guy. He could play as the primary guy because his court vision and his scoring package. He could do both of those things. And I think Kasparas is that exact same way, to where you're always going to be like, man, I want that guy on that team. And I do think he'll flirt with being an all-star off and on. Nick Van Exel was a one-time all-star and somebody that like guys just want to play with, but physically is limited. In this case, it's more like athletically. And that's probably going to be where it's like the difference between being a multi-time all-star and a very, very good player that plays in the NBA for a very long time, that can score the ball and that can be a very good point guard that can play with anybody at the guard spot. So things to look at for Kasparas Jakucionis on YouTube. My guys over at NBA No Ceilings have season highlights of him, and they also had a scouting report put out on him about 3 months ago. Shout out Corey Tolaba. I know he's always on the Lithuanian guys, so go check out all the No Ceiling stuff on Kasparas Jakucionis. Cash Iggy, if you want to see all the great Kasparas Jakucionis games broken down from offensive possessions, passing, defense. Again, Cash Iggy is your go-to guy to go for that. And then last but not least, Hoop Intellect had a Kasparas Jakucionis. Is Kasparas Jakucionis top 5 worthy about 5 months ago? Definitely go look at that and see, opposed to like the No Ceiling stuff and the Cash Iggy things. I think it's a good example because I think people are still like kind of on the fence on Kasparas, but to me, everything screams like, you know, he's going to score, you know, he's going to pass that rock. It just comes down to like, okay, what do we do with him on defense? And we got to get him to chill out and cut down on these turnovers. But fantastic instinctual point guard that was born, definitely not made, going to be the next in a long line of great Lithuanian players in the NBA. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to us. We will catch you next time with Yegor Demin. Agone.